Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Capers Hera Cody, and we're keeping it geekly with our returning guest, Devin Arscott. We're here to break down the line of Olympus, Hera's Wrath, and everything in between. Devin, what the heck has been up since the last time that you've been on? I feel like it's been quite some time.
Yeah, it's been a whopping, 8-9 months or something like that. So, your boy's been busy. I'm very tired. I just got off doing like 46 days worth of work. I did 12-hour shifts at my job for 6 days, every 6 day a week. So I'm like dead. And mind you, I've been doing all sorts of comic book stuff. I've written a bunch of different books, edited a bunch of different books in the time since we last spoke. What else have I been doing? Just
and
trying
a lot
to keep
of people
up.
Don't realize the taxing and the toll working your main job takes on you, and then having to muster that creative juice to keep going with your passion, especially when you're doing 12-hour days, because you have a family as well. So you have to spend time with them and be a father. And, it's so rare for me to be able to have that bond with someone who understands. Exactly. It's like the best visual I can give is Spider-Man with the fairy, where he's holding everything and he has just the million webs and he's just getting ripped apart. That's how I feel almost every day.
Yes. And quite frankly, it does become very hard to deal with it sometimes. So, and mind you, I've got a lot of crazy things that's happened to me just life-wise past, like I said, 8-9 months. So it's just like to still be able to do comic book stuff and maintain my job and just do all that. I'm fortunate because this could have unraveled for anybody else and it wouldn't have worked as well as it has for me. So
hey, well, we're happy to see that you're still here, that you're still kicking it. It sucks being tired, but we're getting the goddamn work done. And speaking of that, we're here to talk about the Lion of Olympus. Very excited to see you diving into Greek mythology. Why choose Hercules out of everyone?
Because he's very relatable as far as his story, his struggle specifically. Hercules has had a rough time in Greek mythology, especially when it came to his stepmother. Hercules was born a demigod, half mortal, half god, to Zeus and his mother, whose name I cannot remember at this time. But long story short, Hercules, got the rough, the short end of the stick, basically. Mm-hmm. So, he's had to work through all sorts of obstacles and all that. He did his 12 labors and a unofficial 13th labor and a bunch of that stuff. Hera eventually made him go crazy and kill his family, and eventually he ended up dying himself and then being reborn and being welcomed into Olympus despite Hera's trying to get rid of another bastard child of Zeus. So it's just like that's kind of relatable, but instead of Hera being my problem, life is my problem. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of like, how do you deal with these things in a unique way? And mind you, Hercules is a very popular Greek mythological figure. There's all sorts of different properties with Hercules, but I wanted to do something sort of different to revitalize the character, do something that was still in league with like his mythology, but maybe expand things that you've never seen before, so on and so forth. And I was like, well, Norse mythology was cool, but I love Greek mythology just a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So, and it was a no-brainer for me.
I guess I knew about Hercules, but I didn't know enough. I never realized he actually had to kill his family, and that ties in perfectly with the God of War. In the Kickstarter reference, it being similar to God of War.
Yeah.
That is a pretty brutal and traumatic thing to go through. So how much of his story do you stick to, and how much do you kind of take creative freedom with?
I stick to it pretty decently, I would say, at least, starting out. I know I'll eventually, I've taken some liberties preemptively just to see how things work. But for the most part, I do stick to things pretty close. You know, his relationships. A lot of people don't understand like Greek culture back then. It's kind of like how civilization is to a small degree now. Just things are, you know, different. Um, Sexuality being a thing that I explore with Hercules.
They were slinging meat back in the day, left and
Dude,
right.
Hold up, it doesn't matter if you're man, woman, or for as much as crazy it is, animals, which is crazy, but I ain't gonna get into that part, obviously. But no, Greek culture was just wow, and you even see it in what game is that? Assassin's Creed Odyssey is one of those games where you kind of see stuff like that because, granted, I didn't play the game. I watched my wife play it, and like that game does tie into Greek culture, you know, very well, you know, especially in terms of sexuality, because there's relationships that you can like cultivate with other people. And it's like you could be a man and a woman, or a woman, and then like, you know, have spouses or like love interests that are the same sex, and it's just like, oh, okay, well, but it works though, and then you can, you know, still go interact with everybody else. You don't have to just have the one, like you go interact with other people, and it's like, well, what about Hercules? Did he do that? Yeah, of course, man. That man, if I recall, he had like at least a dozen relationships that folks knew of, that I could find at least. I'm sure there were way more than that. He even had a bunch of kids too, outside of his like initial family. So it's just like, wow, he was a busy guy, just like his dad.
You know, 12 relationships. I could barely keep one afloat. So, I mean, kudos to him. It has to be somewhat of that demigod influence there helping him along the way. But Hercules, the man of the hour, why is Hera so mad at him?
Because there's another unwanted child that isn't hers. So, you know, she has to deal with that. In a way, I've kind of, I had to look into it actually to see what her beef was just outside of that. And it seems like I think she's had problems with other children of Zeus that were, again, not hers, you know, in that same aspect. So it's like, well, I understand you want to cultivate the crop and, you know, replant, so that way you got your kids instead of, you know, him having a bunch of other kids with women in your relationship while it's still going. You know, Zeus was literally a dude who couldn't just sit down and, you know, not be busy doing at least, you know, godly things. He went about his day, you know, just having other children and ruining people's lives because, you know, he could. And he was not the greatest person in the world. And Hera is kind of like his opposite. So it's like, well, let's do it.
How do we see her anger and fury explored in this comic? What can we expect?
So for this comic specifically, she's someone that never does something herself, it seems like. And if she does do it herself, it's something that she quite literally takes very personally. But this time around, her wrath is in the form of Ares and his children. So the god of war and the dogs of war, which I, you know, call them. So it's just like, all right, well, they will take out her anger and frustration for her on Hercules, and Ares is quite thrilled to do it. So we meet Ares and his two children, Phobos and Deimos, and they basically show up while Hercules is on vacation in Thebes, and then from there it's like his vacation gets ruined because, you know, Hera's ready to get rid of him. So, you know, a big battle ensues and all sorts of madness. And mind you, this is going to be explored in just like 2 quick issues. So it's like mostly, it's a lot of fighting. I realized last night. It's like, wow, you don't even really get to see much of, you know, Hercules' vacation because it's literally cut short. His vacation lasts all of the like 3 seconds that you see him when we get introduced to him in Thebes, and then it's like madness happens right away.
So we have our good friend BMD Nerd over on YouTube. Basically, Zeus was a hoe. No, Zeus was the hoe.
Yes.
The hoe. If he was around 2024, he'd be definitely wearing the shortest Hoochie Daddy shorts possible. You know what I
Honestly,
mean?
he'd probably wear no pants if he could get away with it. So
Yeah. So with this fighting, what does it look like having gods and demigods fight each other?
a mess, a big mess, and like it it's very it's almost like saying like you get in a bar fight.
Hmm.
Almost like, if you've seen videos of bar fights where one dude is just like kind of cool about it, and then like you got a bunch of aggressors. Think about that, but the one that's kind of cool about it is the one that eventually wins out instead of
Always
all
the
the
scariest
aggressors.
one. That's the, like, if
Yep,
you see them just chilling, you don't even bother. It's like, all right, have a good day. You're good.
exactly, and that's
I'm
pretty
out.
much kind of how it is. At first, when things go crazy, I ain't gonna exactly get specific with how things get crazy outside of you know areas and all of them showing up, but
Hmm.
you know there's always a calm before the storm, and like that is in the form of like, I don't want to word it, basically people going crazy. I think there's a piece of artwork floating around that I think I've shared on social media that actually shows some of the madness beginning. Like you see like Hercules getting piled on, and you see people running around with like different weapons and just going crazy and whatnot. So it's like that's kind of how it is.
Was it challenging at all to write his character?
I have an affinity for like obviously godly related
Hmm.
projects. I've done Magni the Mighty. I'm doing this. I got like maybe another book or two running around with like some type of mythological or just like uh, even like a godly aspect to it. Don't even have to be like a mythology book, I don't think. So it's like it's something that I'm very interested in writing. So it's something that I take a lot of pride in doing. It's
Hmm.
very easy to do for me, and it's just really working out the kinks, before I get everything else going, and then obviously refining that stuff towards the end of things. So it ain't nothing to me.
So let's talk creative team. Who's your artist involved on the project?
So the artist in question is an Italian, a young Italian man, mind you. He's only like 22 or 23. His name is Emmanuel Tomarelli, and I actually worked with him due to Chris Moses on one of his projects.
Hmm.
Um, so it's like, okay, well, I really like his artwork, and I had to, obviously ask him like if he was free to work, if he was, like, what did it cost? We came to a agreement, which was very good for me at that time because I had the money to be able to just kind of dump into, um, getting things done at that
Hmm.
time. And mind you, this project was going to be very different um, early on from what it is now. And I'm actually quite happy I changed it because it would have taken me far longer uh, and a lot more money to do it that other way than it does now.
So let's go ahead. I think right now would be a perfect time. Pull up the Kickstarter, go through the campaign, check out some of these interiors a little bit
Yeah.
closer. We have Mama Geekly in chat saying, poor Zeus, Sam Elliott attitude. I wonder what Zeus would look like with just a big Sam Elliott mustache.
I feel like he could rock it. Like, give him
Holy
maybe like
shoot.
a short haircut.
I'm
Uh-oh.
thinking like a Western Greek mythology story. Can you imagine like Zeus as a
Yeah.
cowboy? High noon? I think we're on to something here.
So you're giving me free ideas, and I love that because I didn't have to pay for anything.
Hey, I'm a
Nah,
writer now too, okay? I'm trying to do the dang thing too.
I seen that post you posted yesterday too about that. I'm like, wow, he out here, moving. I'm
Hey,
proud of you.
sometimes you got to break away to become who you need to become. And
Trust me,
speaking
I
of
get
that, we're here to talk about Becoming the Lion of Olympus, Hera's Wrath, a Greek myth comic at $960 of a $3,500 goal. 54 backers, 21 days left to go. And let's go ahead and check out some of these covers. I mean, very detailed, very gorgeous. Who's this cover by right here?
So that's done by Emmanuel right there. That's our cover A. Obviously, I wanted something that kind of captured where we're at, but at the same time, like I wanted to have like a homage cover,
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, and I forget exactly what the issue number is, but I can visualize it in my head. But it's a issue of Mighty Thor, the Mighty Thor, when Jane Foster was Thor. So
Mhm.
basically, it has like Jane Foster and Thor Odin's son's head floating in space, and then you see like Gladiator and all of the Imperial Guard like flying or just otherwise moving through space towards us in the foreground. So it's like I kind of wanted something like that. So I wanted like to see Hercules in like the foreground and like Thebes, basically like just minding his own business
Mhm.
and being able to see the antagonist somewhere on the cover.
And then we have this gorgeous cover too. I love the lion head shoulder cape. From Invincibles, I cannot remember the names, but they're like in the comic stuff gets really crazy. And one of the baddies ends up having like a shoulder cap lion head, and I remember just how visually striking that is, and how like brutal that is.
Because that was a Battle Beast that
yes. I wasn't trying to spoil it, so I'm happy you know about it, so we could talk about it.
Oh no, trust me. I think
Battle Beast was a bad mother. You know what I mean? Like that, and that just like made it so much more. What's the story behind the cape with Hercules in this?
So basically, it's also that's a play on like his battle with the Nemean lion early on during his 12 labors. So that's one of the labors he had to go through, basically fighting this monstrous powerful lion. And eventually, obviously, he won out, and eventually he used that lion's pelt as basically part of his ensemble that you see there. I don't remember if there was any mystical properties to it. If there were, it's probably like impenetrable to damage or some craziness.
Can you imagine being given not only 12 labors, but one of them being to fight a freaking lion? Like I'd be like, come on now, come on, lion.
Honestly, I'm not fighting no lions, bears, nothing like that. If you told me I had to go do that, I'll just quit right there. I'm good.
Yeah. Now this cover right here is very striking and gorgeous as well. Yes. I just love how like the head just fits perfectly with like just how like cold and like brooding he looks right here.
And that's actually crazy thing is that's one of my favorite like pieces because I got the original artwork long before this was colored. So it's like looking at that, and I actually took that piece to Fantasticon with me a couple months ago now, and it was just people kept asking like, "Is this for sale? Is this for sale? I love this. I love this." I'm like, "No, you can't have it unless you have a few $100s." I'm not parting with it. And then to get legendary colorist on this was fantastic. Chris Sotomayor is like one of my childhood favorites. He worked on Captain Marvel, the Avengers, a lot of great series back in the day. He even still does books now. So it's like a dream to finally work with somebody whose work that I admire. And mind you, I can't really color well myself, and I've been practicing the last like month and a half. So
is his weapon of choice in this going to be a big old club? This thing looks dangerous. I love how like it's wrapped at the handle, and then you have like the little brass plating right there. This thing looks brutal.
And that's actually my favorite piece because like I didn't know if he had any like weapons at all. Like usually when I see like Hercules, no matter what property it is, say for like God of War, excuse me, he didn't really have no weapons, and I'm like, well, I guess he has a club according to all the stuff I'm reading.
In the Marvel portrayal, he has like 2 small clubs or something.
Yeah, something like I think it's like a mace or something.
How'd you feel about his appearance in Marvel?
I wish he was a little bigger. Was a little bigger. Like that's my only issue. I liked the actor that they had picked out. I don't know his name or nothing like that, but I thought it looked cool. Having who was it? Russell Crowe. That was
as Zeus was perfect.
Was
I felt you didn't like it.
Was weird. Oh no! Don't say I didn't say I didn't like it. I just thought it was weird seeing him. Like I grew up watching Gladiator with him
when he's ripped, but seeing him with the dad gun, I love it. I'm love
just
it.
Like, wow, it was different for sure. I think that's actually kind of cool though because Russell Crowe's one of those actors. I give him I give him props to doing pretty much anything. So to see him as Zeus, I thought that was cool, and just I wish there was a Hercules Marvel movie right now, so that way I could see more of him. But
I think we're gonna get it. I think the next Thor movie is going to, if they explore it. I mean, they set up the pacing perfectly at the end for, Hercules to go after Thor. So
hopefully we get it soon, because I'm impatient and I need something new to watch.
And I wonder how that'll be now too, because he has I forgot what they named his daughter. Is his daughter's name's Love or no?
Yeah, I think that's what they named her. I'm like, maybe y'all could have named her something else.
Well, not only that, I think it's cool because she has Mjolnir, and then he has Stormbreaker, or does she have Stormbreaker?
Actually, I don't remember.
Because I know she
has Stormbreaker.
I know she's wielding like one of them.
Yeah, I think she has Stormbreaker. And then he got his hammer back.
And here is the creative team involved. I really liked what they did with the hammer. I thought it was unique having the hammer broken apart, and then it could do that mid swing, like just shatter out like that, like a buckshot. Yeah, that was really cool. Was that ever explored in the comics? You seem a lot more versed in Thor than I am.
I want to say it was like a small addition, like after I think Thor's hammer did get broken again for like the billionth time. It was right before, who was it? It was right before Donny Cates? Yeah, right before Donny Cates took over Thor. I think Jason Aaron was still writing Thor, and Thor had like a gold eye patch. He had a gold arm, and he didn't have his original hammer.
Was that
he
King
had
Thor?
A bunch of hammers. Yes.
So I actually have what is it? Thor: God of Thunder, the God Bomb. So I had the Gore series. Yep. Before it came onto screen, and I remember they had young Thor, and then it's like the Thor in the middle, and then King Thor, and King Thor is such a badass with that arm.
Now, mind you, like this is a younger King Thor too, so he's still he's just as grumpy as the old one that we saw during that time frame. Granted, the older Thor, still he got his hammer, and all that, and it was like a necessary, I don't know, change, I want to say, to the character that I wish would have stuck around, but unfortunately, nothing sticks at Marvel anymore.
And talking about slinging meat, Thor is notorious. Oh my God, that man has definitely slang some as well. But talking about slinging some, let's sling some rewards at you guys. So right here is the link to check out this Kickstarter with us. Be sure to hit back if you're able to. If you're not able to back, putting it on Facebook and Twitter works just as well. Word of mouth costs absolutely nothing. You can get the digital copy of this coming in hot at $8. You have cover A at $14, cover B and cover B at $16, and then Friends of Olympus at $16. So this will get you issue 1 digital and then 10 other digital comics in one bundle. Awesome deal right there. Holy crap. What are some of the comics we can talk about?
Oh, man. I believe, so obviously you'll get the book, but you'll get, if I'm correct, let's see, Granite Noir. Endless Hunt is taken out of that bundle just because of other things going on. Let's see, Ruination by Ryan Biss, one of the Red Sea comics from Chris Moses. What other books are in there? It's a lot of stuff that is like awesome in there. So I really wish I could have listed all of that stuff, but it's like time escaped me to get a graphic done. But I promise it's all worth it. I've read all of these books. Oh, Magnet and Mighty is in there too, so you can get that double issue before the new Kickstarter comes out in the fall. Let's see, so there's a lot of good books in there, and that's a great deal for $16. Usually for $16, people will give you like comic. Maybe a couple books. Yeah, like one book or like maybe like upwards of like 4, but I don't think I've seen anybody give like more than 10 books on a campaign for some big digital tier like this. So I think it's a bargain, and I think if you really love independent comic books, this is a tier for you. I would happily back this if I saw it. So I'm a big reader. So I definitely encourage you all to, back this tier if you're, somebody that needs space and don't want to, have too many physical items in the house.
We have a cover C coming in hot at $20. And then is it Cerberus? Cerberus. I was wrong with both pronunciations. $30. So you can get cover A and cover B in one bundle, hot at $30. We have the Hidden Treasures reward. So exclusive holographic virgin cover of cover C. That's going to look pretty. The Citizens of Thebes. So you can be in the comic of issue 1. What type of role are they going to have? A background character, or is there going to be a speaking role? Or
so everything is background for this one. I did think about a speaking role, but I'm like, well, there's no opportunity for that because, if you did speak, it'd just be like you screaming probably. And I don't want you to just scream, or something crazy like that. It's a lot easier to see you in the background or, have you doing something similar to other people that are going to be featured, if you want to be in the book. And I always encourage folks, if you want to be immortalized in comic books, this is a great opportunity. I know I paid for one on a Kickstarter this year. I'm going to be in like an issue 2 of a horror book. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work out. But other than that, I think it's going to be cool though. If you want to, be in ancient Greece and, be in the same book as Hercules, this is the best time to do it. I'll probably offer more of these types of rewards in the future, obviously, where I can. So if you want to get in one now, though, this is your opportunity. There's only 4 spots, as there's not very many room on that specific page that I have in mind. So I'd back it now before it's too late.
And then last but not least, we have an awesome tier right here, an editing session of $150. So have a editing session with Devin. Up to 24 pages of script. Isn't your normal rate like $10 a page or something along those lines?
Double that. So this is an outstanding price then. You're getting one hell of a deal for up to 24 pages of script. And what does that editing session look like when you're working with a creator? So editing session, basically, it's almost like talking like we do, but through email typically. Now, if you want to talk to me, kind of like this, we can set up a Zoom. I can go over why I edited things the way I did. My editing sessions are pretty quick. Usually a 72-hour turnaround unless something else is going on. I literally read your book back to front within the first day I have it. I go over edits within the next, 24 hours or so, and then I send it back. So I'm what they call a copy paste editor. So you can literally copy all the text of my edits and then paste them back into your script. So that way you don't have to worry about retyping anything. I've done most of the work. I explain why I changed things in detail. There's usually a remark section first that you'll read through, and then there's usually a billion edits depending on who you are and what exactly I needed to fix up. So and like I said, if there's usually any questions, which there very rarely are, I answer those in full. Like I said, if you need to talk to me via the phone, whether it's a Zoom or just a regular phone call, it's pretty to the point, basically. So, and those edited sessions do work out. As proof of that, I actually edited a book, or maybe a couple books that were on Kickstarter this year. One that finished at almost $5,300. It was called Heroes and Zeros, and that's a book. Paul. That book has Gail Simone on it as a free backup. That was a stretch goal. That book I put a whole summer's worth of editing into, and guess what? It paid off. That was Paul's first book, and it worked. So you can see clearly that working with me, as far as being your editor, I even do Kickstarter advice as well, and go through creating a Kickstarter, the do's and don'ts, and all that stuff as well, that I can wrap into that same session, it's just a little extra fee is all. But usually I have no complaints.
So
Everybody seems to enjoy it.
For anyone who doesn't maybe fully comprehend the importance of having an editor or a second like pair of eyes on a script like that, can you kind of give us just a little bit about like the importance of it?
Yeah, so basically an editor is the last line of defense before a book were to go to say like print, basically. So I feel the role of at least in my case, I feel the role of writer and editor for all my projects, at least for right now, say for one book that I've had done. So basically, I go over the script once I've approved the script to go to art. Art gets done. You can make any necessary revisions there that you as a creator need to hash out with the artist. Usually, most people give full reign to the artist anyway. Colors and then lettering. But if you want everything to have a great pass, because usually before books go to print, like everything needs to be looked at. And at least, like I said, again, for me, being my own editor at most stages, I do a pass at every stage. So, I did a initial pass over my own script, had other people look at it. Once they told me it was okay, send it to, get art done, look over the art, make any necessary corrections, colors, make any necessary corrections. Now, and then lettering, if I see something that I didn't correct or whatever, I go over it and then it's ready to go. And that's pretty much what editors do. Now, as far as say like big two or just bigger editorial work, that's not freelance. Really, I could do it freelance too, but they have a little bit more on their plate. They usually do all the copy work. So for say solicitations and other, necessary things, pull quotes if you need it for reviewers and other things, as well as managing. They usually manage no less than like 5 projects, if I'm correct, or at least that I've seen reading books. So it's like editor is something necessary. A lot of people skimp out on that portion just because they feel they feel it's something they can do, which is true. Anybody can do it, but it's just how good are you at doing it, and not many people are very good at that. So it's like you kind of need that to reassure that things will be okay and catch things that you didn't see. Because if you put out a book and there's something wrong with it, somebody's going to catch it, somebody's going to mention it, and then they're going to question you, and you're going to look at it like, wow, I should have fixed that. So it's always good to have an editor, even if you have to put out a few $100 more on a project. It's very much worth it. And I personally always advocate for people to get an editor, even if it's not me, but preferably me.
So we have a BMD Nerd. Are any of those epic fantasy comics getting a sequel?
Yes, actually. Noir and Granite are both getting sequels. That's hopefully going to be my next project after this. I know CJ is working on Granite right now. I think I saw artwork for that or another project he's doing that I'm on. But yep, most of the time when you see something coming from epic fantasy, it might most likely have a sequel coming to it. Save for Endless Hunt. Endless Hunt is a special book where how do I want to word it? It's gonna see itself revitalized just outside of epic fantasy. So that's out of my hands. I did it for its initial run. Now its secondary run is gonna be somewhere else. Okay. But
so, Devin, as an editor yourself, for anyone, I guess, preparing to send a script to an editor, what would be your biggest piece of advice to kind of just make it easier for the editor?
Properly format your scripts, please. If you don't know what a comic book script is supposed to look like or typically looks like, granted, not everybody does everything the exact same, but everything falls in line similarly. Please format your scripts, because if you are used to writing any other type of way, then it's going to make it harder for me to ascertain what I'm supposed to be looking at, and then that makes my job a lot harder. And there's been a lot of that the past few months. It seems like a lot of people still don't understand what it is they're getting into. Like, I've gotten a couple screenwriters that have never written a comic book, and they read it like a screenplay. People, you can do that technically. There's nothing wrong with that, but it makes it more, difficult for me, especially if you don't at least, show me, page 1 at the top, how many panel counts before, I actually look at, say, panel descriptions and dialogue, and, any references you might have on that page. So it gets rough. Like, please figure it out, because if I have to reformat it for you, like, it just makes everything more frustrating for me.
Yeah.
I have a lot of patience, but there's only so much I can give.
So last but not least, what are you up to outside of creating? What video games are you playing, TV shows you're watching, and books that you're reading?
So I honestly, I'm finally getting back into TV this past weekend. I know I got to catch up on Shogun. That's been a fantastic series.
I need to dive into that. What platform is it on?
Hulu. It's on Hulu.
Okay.
Yep. So I think all the episodes are out now, because I think the finale was like last week, and I've been avoiding spoilers for the most part. So I'm gonna finally come in fresh, because I've watched the first 2 episodes, but it seemed like as soon as I did that, work picked up in the 12, and I'm like, whatever. No big deal. Let's see. As far as other things, I was doing my Justice League, going into Justice League Unlimited rewatch. I'm almost finished with Justice League. I got like 8 episodes left, I think, of the 2nd season before JLU starts. Let's see. Family Guy, I think, is done for the year, so I won't see it again until next year. Video games. We actually got a bunch of games couple weeks ago, I think. I know one of them was TMNT Shredder's Revenge. That was a fun game. I really like that. Let's see, I haven't got to play Stray yet.
Stray's good. My daughter is in love with that game.
It looks very fun. I know we wanted it when it first came out, but obviously I get sidetracked and then just ultimately forgot about it. Went on sale, and then bought it for less than what it cost originally, which was good. I like a good deal. What is that one game that I've been playing that I've just been kind of obsessed with? Not the Callisto Protocol. That's been frustrating me.
I like that game, but it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
It's something. Like,
I'm a huge Dead Space fanatic, so like that scratched the itch for me, but like the combat was so wonky. Like when you had to like move and dive, it didn't function well.
It reminds me of the first Mass Effect game. That's how I put it for me. Like Mass Effect 1, as much as I love that game, it's very clunky. I don't like that. I love the story of Callisto.
You can sling some meat in Mass Effect, can't you? I think we're just talking about slinging a lot of meat today.
Trust me. Like I've had every character interaction that you could have in those games, and it's out of this world.
Devin quoted today, "If I could do them, I'm gonna do them."
Pretty much. Like I said, I've had every interaction, so it's kind of hard to not. And that's a lot of hours into that game.
We have Sons of Mjolnir joining us. Look at these handsome gents. Thank you. Right back at you. Right back at you.
It's always nice to hear my friends give me compliments.
So with that being said, it is time for us to begin wrapping up, guys. Hope you all are having a lovely Tuesday. Real quick, right here is the link to check out this Kickstarter. Be sure to back if you're able to, but if you're not, put that on Facebook and Twitter. Word of mouth costs you absolutely nothing. Devin, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure. Everyone have an awesome afternoon, but most importantly, keep it geekly.